On a historic day, June 6, 1944, the U.S. Army, as part of a massive operation known as the Normandy Invasion, landed at Omaha Beach. This was no ordinary beach, but a heavily fortified position held by German forces. The German forces were well prepared, armed with artillery and machine guns. The U.S. Army, despite their training and preparation, suffered major losses against these formidable defenses. The battle was chaotic, filled with the noise of gunfire and explosions, the cries of wounded men, and the confusion of war. Amidst this chaos, a figure emerged: Captain John H. Miller of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. He took charge of a group that had managed to survive the initial onslaught. Displaying exceptional leadership and courage, he led them successfully behind the German lines, securing a victory that would be remembered for years to come. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the United States Department of War received some tragic news. 3 out of 4 brothers from the Ryan family had been killed in action. The 4th brother, James Francis Ryan, who was part of the 101st Airborne Division, was reported missing. The news sent shockwaves through the department. The General of the Army, George C. Marshall, gave an order that would change the course of several lives. He ordered that Ryan be found and sent home. This was to spare his family the unbearable grief of losing all their sons. The task of finding Ryan was given to Captain Miller. He was to assemble a team of soldiers to accompany him on this mission. The team included Mike Horvath, Richard Ribon, Adrian Caparzo, Stanley Mellish, Daniel Jackson, Irwin Wade, and Timothy Upham, who was an interpreter with no combat experience. The team set out on their mission, following Ryan's trail to the town of New Plain. Here, they faced a tragic loss when Caparzo was killed by a German sniper while trying to save a young girl. The men mourned the loss of their friend and began to resent the fact that they were risking their lives for just one man. They eventually found a man named James Frederick Ryan, but it turned out to be a case of mistaken identity. That night, the men took a rest in a chapel. Here, Miller confided in Horvath about a condition he developed after joining the war. His hands had started shaking uncontrollably. The next day, the men headed to a rallying point where they hoped to find the 101st Airborne, who might have landed off course. They came across a large number of wounded and displaced soldiers. Wade scolded Ribon, Mellish, and Jackson for insensitively searching through a pile of dog tags belonging to deceased soldiers. They were hoping to find Ryan's tag among them and end their mission. Feeling guilty for not stopping them earlier, Miller shouted out, asking if anyone knew Ryan. A soldier who had lost his hearing told him that Ryan had been reassigned to defend a crucial bridge in the town of Rommel. On their way to Rommel, the team discovered a German gun nest. Despite his men's advice, Miller decided to neutralize it. They were successful, but at a great cost. Wade was killed. In their anger and grief, the men decided to execute a German soldier who had surrendered. However, Upham stepped in, arguing that they should abide by the rules of war. Miller agreed with Upham and let the German soldier go, instructing him to surrender to the next Allied patrol. This soldier was nicknamed Steamboat Willie. Ribon, frustrated with the situation, threatened to desert the team. This led to a standoff among the men, which was defused by Miller. He revealed his pre-war life as a teacher and a baseball coach, something he had always kept a secret. He reflected on how people often guessed his profession before he became a soldier, but his men couldn't. This made him wonder if the war had changed him and whether he was still the same man his wife would recognize. When they reached Rommel, Miller's team found Ryan and informed him of their mission. However, Ryan refused to leave his post or his comrades, believing that he didn't deserve to go home more than anyone else. Horvath managed to convince Miller that saving Ryan could be the one truly good thing they could achieve in the war. As the only officer present, Miller took command of Ryan's group and prepared them for an impending German attack. During the assault, Jackson and Horvath were killed. Upham was paralyzed with fear as Mellish was stabbed to death. Steamboat Willie returned and shot Miller just before reinforcements arrived to defeat the Germans. Upham confronted Willie, who tried to surrender again, and killed him. Upham and Ribon watched as the dying Miller told Ryan to live a life worthy of the sacrifices made to send him home. Many years later, an elderly Ryan, accompanied by his family, visited Miller's grave at the Normandy cemetery. He expressed that he remembered Miller's words every day and had tried to live his life the best he could. He hoped that he had lived a life that honored their sacrifices.